Welcome back to another episode of Where's the Teaspoon? Today we're talking to Research Officer Dr. Victor Jeganathan, who is the new chair of our Embrace staff network. So welcome to the podcast, Victor, and thank you for giving us some of your time today.
No problems. Thank you for having me.
So for people who haven't come across you before, can you give us a brief introduction? Tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are.
So I'm Vic. I am a research officer, as I already described, and my role is a little bit chopped up into various different roles. So I actually am funded by Public Health, but hosted by DCHS. And in the public health role, the few days I work there, I end up addressing health inequalities. It can be varying from doing questionnaires, designs, or making posts or making interventions. It is all about helping other departments with behavioural science sort of stuff. And in my DCHS role, that has changed over the years, but currently I work within the quality conversations team, so helping people have good communications about various topics, varying from just day-to-day activities, but also like how to have a conversation with someone neurodiverse, for example. That's something we're working on at the moment. And yeah, and also, obviously, one day a week, I am now known as chair of the Embrace Network. So a very mixed background, a very cross-systems background, and a very diverse background, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. How long have you been with DCHS?
Oh, so I was a pandemic hire, ultimately. So we're edging towards 5 years of being in the trust. So my background was originally a little bit human factors-y, but that sort of led into landing in this almost behavioural science role. So it's all sort of evolved from that.
What about your background more generally? Are you from Derbyshire? Where did you grow up? And was this where you thought you would end up in life?
No, I think it's a simple answer to all this. So growing up, I was in London, Kingston, and did a product design course at Brunel University for a few years. Really liked the human factors elements of it, of how you interact with objects, how systems works and all that sort of thing, which led to Loughborough University doing a human factors degree. And then ultimately that in turn led into a PhD, understanding vision impairment and guide running and how you will do that. But that's a whole different story unto itself. But when the pandemic hit, the vision, those fields that I was working in sort of went very, very quiet, and therefore the pull from public health, NHS on supporting the COVID at the time was actually what attracted me to the role, but also just going right. And then I sort of found it a really interesting place to be in, just for the variety of work, and that's how I end up accidentally here. I think that sums it up.
As well as your research work, you're very well known around the Trust now for your animations and your artwork. Can you tell us a little bit about that creative pathway and how you came to be doing that kind of work?
So obviously, I think like anyone doing good art, it's just like it's sort of followed throughout life. I will be open and honest. While I did do an art A level, I definitely did not get the marks that would be akin to my graphic design style. But as the years sort of developed, going into university, I kept drawing. Product design naturally has a bit of a drawing element to it, but I just kept doodling mostly to keep myself entertained during long lectures. But as it comes into this sort of field of where I'm now, drawing ends up being this lovely tool where you can actually quickly convey images or ideas, or even in some cases draw things in places where you can't normally take photos. So for example, when I was working in the PhD sort of area, I was working with a lot of kids. I can't take photographs of kids unless going through a lot of red tape, but I can draw pictures of kids enjoying themselves or cartoons enjoying themselves and explain that. So it ends up becoming this mixture of communication, scientific communication ultimately, of just and making things really relevant. So that's kind of how it all came together. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely it did. What kind of things spark your imagination and make you want to express something through that medium then?
Normally, especially these days, it has been because of the ask, because there's a problem that we end up going, right, how do we even tackle this problem? Well, actually, cartoons could end up being a very good way of exploring it, or sometimes a video. It's very rare that I start with a drawing first and then try and fit the thing. I'm normally trying to answer a question or describe a thing or tell a story. In fact, I would argue most of the things always start off as a story before I even figure out how we're going to tell it, or even what the art style is and all that sort of thing. So it's just that's the sort of dynamic is. It's not like, where do I find ideas? Ideas, I'm told to either research or come up with the idea to sort of bring it all together. So that's kind of how it ends up being to these days. In terms of the hobby side of things, is more, I put myself in a silly situation, I need to figure out a solution. So one of them has been recently, my supervisor, bless her, she gave me a air dry clay, you know, the sort of polymer clays that you put together and it sort of air dries. And I've realized I've received that Christmas last year, and I feel I'll be doing her a disservice if I didn't figure out a way of using it. So when it came next year, when it came around, it was like, right, Christmas tombola's coming up. I know, I'll start quickly making Christmas decorations out of this air dry clay, put it into the team's tombola. So there's now someone out there who's now got our team logo as a Christmas ornament. There is someone out there with a very bemused polymer air dry clay cat, which is now hanging off her Christmas tree. And in terms of other creative things, sometimes it's just like, oh, I have a silly idea. What if Doctor Who was helping Santa Claus deliver all the parcels? What would that look like? So you end up drawing a little sleigh and Doctor Who pulling the sleigh and something silly like that. So that's the more fun side of it. So work, normally idea first, try and figure it out. Fun is more, oh, okay, let's just have some fun and keep doodling and see where we end up.
Well, I love it. And I think that sense of fun really comes through in your artwork. Have you got a favourite piece that you've created, either for the NHS or maybe just a personal piece?
So when it comes to work for the NHS, I think actually one of the first ones we did is the best one, actually. So I like it for a few reasons. One is the first time we delve into it to explore if we should do or could do illustrations, but the impact it has had and continues to have has actually been really interesting. So the video I'm talking about is on the DCHS website. In fact, you can Google it, just type in needle phobia, and one of the first video results is actually our video. And the reason I like it is because of the following. It addressed a unique issue. Needle phobia, no one was really addressing it. In fact, it was Healthwatch at the time that raised it, going, hey, needle phobia is the reason why people aren't getting vaccinated. And so we went, right, is there any resources? Not really. Well, let's make one. So there we made the video. What we weren't expecting at the time, though, was that it just kept getting more views. It was helping more people than the Derbyshire audience, definitely. It has helped people globally, which is amazing to see. And even to this, and even now, it is still ticking over in its numbers. It is now, I checked it last week, has 27K views. Wow. So 27,000 views. And it's from people like in America saying, hey, this really helped me out, or these are the techniques, or I'm really worried about my vaccination. So we looked at data ages ago, we can see that it's slightly ticking over and hopping over depending what vaccination schedule there is across the world.
Yeah, the power of art. You just mentioned there people can Google that needle phobia video and it will come up immediately. Do you have a home for your artwork in case anyone listening would like to go and have a look at what we're talking about?
I am terrible into social media, of just being like a social media mogul of like, here's all the art and all that sort of thing. I mean, like, I do have a Twitter handle or Instagram handle, and I think it's Dr. Vic Jeg. But that's just more if I find or to get around to it. Most of my jobs have been scattered and hidden within other systems, which is wonderful, but it also means that my artwork has appeared in places I never expected them, because the people have just copied and pasted and used it as their own thing, which is lovely to see it get up in its own right. But yeah, there's no singular place, and perhaps I just need to be more organized on that front.
Well, you've got quite a lot on your plate at the moment. You have many roles, so we'll let you off. But Dr. Vic Jeg, if anyone wants to Google that, they'll probably find a little bit of your work. Okay, so talking of your busy schedule, your new role then with Embrace, tell us a little bit about why you were interested in becoming the chair.
Now, I will be open and honest. I didn't really clock that Embrace was even a thing. It was only when it was mentioned in one of the emails, probably my downloads, it was like, oh, we're advertising Embrace, that I even clocked that it even was a thing. Now, in my defense, I am both DCHS and DCC. That time divide means that I really couldn't really participate in many networky sort of things. But what appealed to me from that sort of role was actually, if you consider what the challenges that Embrace ends up facing, it is not too dissimilar from my public health role. We're looking at a staff base of about 5,000 plus, which is similar to a small village. It has got its own cultures and strengths, and I figured if I could be part of the Embrace have a dedicated day to actually helping a network, I could actually really get to understand DCHS itself, because it's such a huge, vast organization with such nuances that I didn't really fully understand. I'm still trying to understand like what's going on in this 5,000 places scattered across so many miles. And so it felt like a really fun way of taking my skill set, giving it a little bit of a twist with new challenges, and that was the appeal of it. And the more I've been digging around and trying to understand what it means to be the Embrace chair, the more interesting and exciting the role actually is. And I'll be open and honest, I didn't realize how high profile it was until after it. But yes, that's kind of the way that my reasoning for applying to Embrace, and I'm enjoying every minute of it so far.
So what kind of things are exciting you about the role as you're starting to get into it now? What kind of things are you looking forward to doing in this next year? So what we're currently doing now, at the moment of recording, I've not met the rest of my Embrace team, and there's a good reason for that. Our latest diversity data, I forget the proper acronym, is only just being released now, and we want a little bit of time for it to be process, analyze, figure out the story is before we actually meet up with our Embrace team to actually say, here's the picture, here's what's happening. In saying that, there is really interesting, from a researcher's perspective, data that I would love our research, a bit of our capacity to understand and really unpick. So the thing that actually surprised me the most was that 53% of our minorities leave DCHS within the first year. This is in comparison to 14% of the rest of the population. Now, to be very, very clear about this is probably an issue across all of the NHS in different shapes, ways, and forms. I do not think that this is exclusively an issue of DCHS. But why it is an issue is actually so multifaceted. Like, they're clearly leaving with their feet. They're clearly, but to unpick why and to understand why they're doing this, or what is the experiences that is an unknown. We do not know how to unpick that. We do not know how to do that. So actually the best tool is actually the tools I already have, which is, as a researcher, I would like Embrace to almost start
a research process of asking questions, talking to people, really understanding and fleshing out what it could be of why this 53% are leaving. Because it's only when we have these answers can we have a really effective way of actually addressing them. It could be that they just need more financial support or different types of support from managers. But if we can unpick that, we actually get an opportunity to make a stronger DCHS. And that's actually really exciting. And I don't think it's whatever we find is going to help minorities. I don't think that's the case at all. I think what we find will actually help everyone. So that's really the exciting thing I really want to explore. But before I could even do that, I need to have a chat with my own Embrace team to really check if this is the direction and area that they want to go and how we actually go about doing this. There's huge opportunities. There's even huge potential savings, actually, because if you're having such a huge dropout rate, that's money lost in terms of recruiting, rehiring and retraining. But yeah, it's really fascinating trying to figuring out that sort of area.
Okay, it's going to be an interesting year ahead then. If anyone's listening and they would like to get involved with Embrace or want to support the work, what's the best way they can do that?
Of course. So there's the main way is just emailing in our inbox. I have it written down to make sure I've got it correct. It is dchst.embrace@nhs.net. You can obviously email me if you feel that that's another way, or for whichever reason you can't find that inbox. But yes, we'll try. We're now restarting, renewing. So actually now's the perfect time to get involved as we sort of choose our direction of how we want to go forward.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be a really interesting year ahead, and I'm sure we'll be sharing lots more about your work over the coming months on through our comms channels. Just going to finish up on a more personal note. What brings you joy outside of work?
It's an interesting one because I don't want to sound like a broken record that I like drawing.
Drawing's great.
So obviously there's that, but I guess it's creating stuff and building stuff. So more recently I've been building a little office shed. So that's been really lovely, just building all that sort of thing. In my spare time, whenever I get it, I do volunteer for what's known as an eco hub, which has a shared community workshop area with 3D printers and all that sort of thing and recycle stuff. So it's always hands-on-y things, and some of it is because I'm sometimes a bit too cheap, but sometimes I do like a challenge. So right now there is my partner's car has broken down because the shock absorbers have the springs has completely shattered. So from eBay, like yesterday, new springs have come over. I've watched the YouTube videos. I think I know how to change it. Otherwise, I'm going to have to get the car towed to a mechanic.
You're a man of many talents.
So I think it's that sort of trying something fun, trying something new, and I do strongly advocate for like repairing your own things, and I think it probably leads into my own research angle of I like trying to find solutions to problems I don't necessarily understand. Hence the Embrace thing. But also it's just more of a let's try it, and worst case scenario I'm just gonna have to call a mechanic and just be like, here's the parts, can you install it?
Oh, I believe in you. I think you can do it. All right, and finally, tell us one small thing that makes a big difference to you in life.
One small thing that makes a big difference in life. You know what? I actually don't have an answer for that. It's one of those things of, no, I do. I do have the answer for this. I know what it is. It is a tile key, tile fob. So you buy them, the tile, Apple does a version of it, but put it on your keys. And then you can use your phone to find your keys. The amount of hours it has saved in my life from losing my keys, from losing my wallet, or perhaps in some cases losing my phone because I can use the same device to find my phone. has been life-saving. It has made sure I'm actually vaguely on time for meetings when driving away. I am the most disorganized person, so the ability of having such literally a couple of centimeters circular disc that I can attach to my keys and then find it, that has been a small thing that has made a big change in my life. Because the amount of times I have ripped apart a whole room to find my keys were not in the room, it was just next room under a piece of paper, and the frustration of that has been monumental. And the fact I've not had to experience that level of anxiety in quite some time because of these silly little trackers has genuinely improved my life no end.
I have the same thing, and yeah, I can 100% agree with you on that. It's also good to put one in your car for when you're in a car park, big car park or a multi-story, and you forget where your car is. That's very helpful too.
No, I've not thought of that one.
all the top tips here. Vic, that was fantastic. Thank you so much for having a chat with us today, and we look forward to hearing more from you during the year. And please share with us what the network is up to.
Okay, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, have a great day.
Thanks, Vic.